Armstrong. Okay. Welcome to the Rapid City Legal and Finance Committee meeting for September 12th, 2018. I'd like to start this meeting off with a roll call and determination of quorum, please.
Armstrong?
Here.
Laurenti?
Great. Now that a quorum has been established, I would welcome a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Wonderful. In favor? Yes. No. Opposed? Okay. All right. Now let's move on to our general public comment for items 1 through 12. This is a time for any member in the audience to discuss items currently not on today's agenda. Are there any speaker request forms? Anybody? Okay. All right, well, thank you. Seeing none, general public portion is now closed, and we'll move on to our consent items. Today's consent items on the agenda has items 1 through 12. Let's open this up to public comment. Is there anyone that wants to speak? Okay, we'll close public comment. Okay. Are there any committee members that would like to pull any items on today's agenda for separate consideration? Mr. Solomon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item number 7, please.
Anything else? Okay, I'll welcome a motion to approve items 1 through 12 with the exception of number 7.
So moved.
Great, thank you. All right, motion carries. Oh, wait, we'll go, well, we can do that.
He's going to speak on it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, all right, let's move to number 7. All right, item number 7, approve investment committee's recommendation to council to cancel community block development block grant, the CDBG funding for fiscal year 2015 and fiscal year 2017 awarded to Freeland Ranch Hague for non-performance and call the irrevocable letter of credit due for the fiscal year of 2015 funds. Mr. Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I could direct a question to Barb Garcia, please.
Absolutely.
Ms. Garcia, as you approach the podium, last time we met, we provided a 2-week extension on this to see if we had any progress made that would be sufficient for your area, and just want to kind of get an update on that from you, if you don't mind.
We have been in contact with Mr. Hague, and he has submitted a timeline to us. We still don't have the extension for the irrevocable line of credit yet. He has committed to getting that to us by October 1st. In the timeline, and he, I believe, has also been in discussions with Vicki on that timeline and whether it was doable, and so I'd like to defer to her for comments about the timeline that is submitted, and I can put it up on the screen for you if you want that, or if you have questions for Mr. Hague on it specifically.
Well, the main thing, and we certainly can hear about the timeline. I think with this committee, at least for me, what I want to know is whether we're satisfied with the information provided and to go ahead and continue to move forward, or if we still want to cancel the grant. We're looking for a recommendation from you, I suppose.
Okay, I still have some concerns with the timeline. One of those is that we haven't gotten the extension of the irrevocable line of credit. Without that, we can't do anything forward. We would have to call it due. We also want to see substantial progress in that timeline, or he won't make the deadlines. The funding, he doesn't have funding secured yet for the project. If that weren't in place by May 1st, then I would say we would have to stop the project, because that wouldn't leave me enough time. That just leaves me 12 months to reallocate and use. The timeline he's put forward, I believe, is doable. I've been told it's doable, but it's extremely aggressive, and it doesn't leave much room for any kind of problems that would come up for that. So I have concerns, but is it something that we could set a couple of marks that if we don't have this by these 3 dates, after that date we would be done totally? I would be willing to go along with that, but it is a very aggressive and one that he would have to be right on point to make.
Okay. Vicki, would you mind approaching Vicki Fisher? To Barb's point on the timeline and whether it's a realistic timeline, and maybe just an overview for the rest of the council and anybody streaming or watching at home, what we're talking about in terms of this project.
Certainly. So right now we have 120-acre unplatted property, and we're looking at developing 1 acre for an affordable housing development. As a result of that, the property has to be platted, and that's a 3-phase project. It has to be rezoned, and a planned development has to be approved. All of those things require, at some point or other, action by the city, and in some instances, action by the Planning Commission and the City Council. So in the timeline that was provided to us yesterday by Kent, he and I went through the calendar to confirm what we would see as standard allotments of time for each application, and it is doable. As Barb said, though, that if there are elements that are outside of his control, sometimes a contractor that's backlogged on another project, or the weather itself, or just red line comments between his engineer and our engineer, there certainly could be issues with hitting this timeline. I think the important one, though, that probably lends itself to Barb's concerns about substantial progress and improvement being shown for this project, it's anticipated that by January 15th, the construction plans to actually physically go out and start the infrastructure improvements would be on point. And that might be one of the earmarks that we keep within conversation to ensure that this is going forward in a positive fashion. Once those construction plans are approved, then it still leads the development to then be completed and surety to be posted with the final plat for any outstanding improvements that are not completed. I'll let Barb speak to what she needs to see as far as on-site, because everything that I've spoken to is just getting the lot ready for development. The part of getting construction started for the buildings may be another component, and that's something that my timeline doesn't include.
Okay. Barb, would you mind approaching the podium once more? I'm glad to hear the timeline and this part of the project could happen. My last time you brought this forward to us, your concern was we would be risking these funds that come from the federal government. This isn't us able to really use our discretion. It is about hitting certain markers at a certain time, or else we lose that funding for the community as a whole. That was our concern. So we lean really heavy on you to kind of guide us on hitting those markers. Is there, if we were to take any action to move forward, are we jeopardizing any of these federal funds, or are we able to establish new marks to hit in order to make sure that we don't risk losing the funding, but perhaps could still move forward with a project such as this?
I believe we could move forward with 3 specific guidelines of milestones that we have to meet. If we miss any of those 3, I think that should be the end of moving forward. And the first one of that is October 1st. We must have that extension on the irrevocable line of credit for the $120,000. That is the key for us to be able to move forward. Without it, our money is at risk, and we would be at risk of losing it. So the second one would be May 1st. If he does not have funding for the actual construction project identified and ready to go, I don't believe there's a way he could make the deadline that we need to finish. And the third one is that, or I'm sorry, March 10th. substantial, we have to be seeing that he's meeting Vicky's requirements. If he's not meeting those, then it's not going to happen on the end. So March 10th, I would want to reevaluate and see where we are, is he meeting all those milestones. But the absolute drop dead is if the funding isn't secured by May 1st, at that point, I would not be willing to support going any farther forward with it, because that leaves me about 12 months to reallocate the funds to another project that could use them. So that would be protecting our money, that we wouldn't lose it. We could do a rehab project on a public facility or something like that in that time frame and use the funds. So May 1st of 2019 would be the drop dead date if we don't see him actually starting the construction on buildings. That would leave him still the time to finish until July of 2020 to actually get the buildings complete and occupied. I'd need at least 12 units with 7 of them low income. Of his project, he's proposing 24 units on that site, 2 separate buildings. But for us, for our funding, if I could get one 12-unit with at least 7 of them as affordable units, that would meet our criteria for the grant.
Okay. Is that your recommendation?
I would say go forward to see if he can make these first 2 deadlines, and if he can't, then we stop it at that point.
Okay. And I'm sure Mr. Haig wants to speak on this topic as well. Did he provide a speaker request for him?
Yeah, I would like to
Okay.
have Mr. Haig's input,
Yeah, let's make sure
please.
give him a chance to speak. Thank you, Barb.
Please remain on standby. Thank
And
you.
I'll yield my time.
Okay, great. Mr. Lewis?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll make that motion based upon the benchmarks.
3 timelines?
3 timelines. If I get a second. Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Haig, does that sound doable to you?
Yes, that is the timeline we've submitted, and we believe that the May 1st of 2019 to verify the existence of funding for construction and to bring it to fruition, and probably permanent as well, is very doable. We've talked with a couple of different sources that are very optimistic that 2 or 3 months earlier than that even.
Okay. But just the main thing I want to find out is that you're okay with that timeline? You'll be able,
Yes.
you're confident you can make those benchmarks?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. And everybody else, I support it. If the staff's so comfortable with that, then I have no problem going forward, as long as we don't lose those funds and we allow Mr. Haig to continue his project. I think it's a win-win as best we can get at this point, so
Okay.
I support that going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Or discussion? Mr. Laurenti? Okay.
As to the other timeline, October 1st for obtaining the irrevocable, or the renewal of the irrevocable letter of credit. The current one is in place until February of next year. Bank West has the request in front of them. I understand there's no problem with it. They do not meet, their bank board does not meet this week, they meet next week. So I'm doing everything I can to hog tie the bank board to get it approved. It should be very, very minimal, because it's already credit that's issued. So it shouldn't be any problem getting that renewed. But the one, just rest assured that the funds are secured with that irrevocable letter of credit all the way up to February. But we will expedite it.
Okay, great. All right, Mr. Laurenti, you're up.
Barb, if you could approach the podium, please. So given that I'm assuming at this point the irrevocable letter on the line of credit is going to be passed October 1st, is that a problem?
Yeah, no, as long as no, he should have it by October 1st, is what he had told me.
I anticipate that there shouldn't be a problem with October 1st, and the bank, and I told Barb at a minimum, as soon as possible, I'll have the bank president write a letter of affirmation that it's simply the formality of going through board for the stamp. But
Okay. I just wanted to state that, I mean, it's unfortunate, I think, that we're in this position, and I think it's unfortunate that staff's in this position, but I do support the motion on the floor. However, my support will end October 1st if we don't have that first step taken care of. So I just wanted to voice that, and I hope that we make this development happen. I'm the one that lobbied hard to get an additional $75,000 for this project added to it, and so I'm hoping that it comes to fruition. I yield.
May I ask for one clarification?
Please.
In the description of what we brought to you today, we have not awarded officially the $75,000 to him. We haven't done the contract on it, so your guidance in your comment on whether we go ahead with awarding that for plans or not awarding it is needed for me to go forward with it. So.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right, and I concur with what Mr. Laurenti said. My concern is the lack of communication that has happened previously, but I see that you're working together, and I do think it's a valuable project. We just need to keep the lines of communication open and just kind of move this forward. I think we're all in agreement with that. So the motion is to approve this with the October 1st, March 10th, and May 1st deadlines, correct? Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And this is more a question for Barb, but we have provided the irrevocable letter of credit for the $75,000 grant. And I think all the things that are required for that, except for the renewal are in place now? Okay. So.
I anticipate this going to City Council on Monday. I would like some presence there as well, because I'm sure there'll be some more questions. Okay, we'll just
Thank you.
move along. Okay. Yep. All right. With these items approved, let's move to our non-consent items, 13 through 16. Open it up to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak? Any speaker request forms? Okay. If not, public comment is closed. Moving along to item number 13 under Parks and Recreation. Sorry about that. We have a second reading and recommendation of ordinance number 6276, an ordinance to amend sections of the Rapid City Municipal Code relating to infested trees and storage of wood.
Move to approve.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And none opposed, motion carries. Okay, number 14, moving along, under the Finance Department, we have an introduction and first reading of ordinance number 6283, an ordinance regarding supplemental appropriation number 6 for 2018. Any discussion?
Move to approve.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. All right, number 15, approving a resolution 2018-069, a resolution of intent to take a statutorily authorized increase in property tax revenue as part of the annual appropriation ordinance for the 2019 fiscal year.
Move to
Motion to move it.
I'll restate that if you need me to. I'm moving to continue that to our city council meeting without recommendation.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries, thank you. And last but not least, item number 16, the second reading and recommendation of ordinance number 6281, an ordinance regarding fiscal year 2019 appropriation ordinance. Move it along, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, none opposed, motion carries.
Move to adjourn.
Second. Thank you. See you on Monday evening at City Council, 6:30. Oh, can we vote on the adjournment, please? All in favor? Aye. I'm opposed. Motion carries. Thank you.